In this module, we will discuss about the items to check before entering the ETOPS sector, and the actions to perform while in the ETOPS sector. As in the cockpit preparation module, be aware that we are going to speak only about cockpit preparation related to ETOPS. ETOPS flights combine other requirements, North Atlantic high-level airspace, oceanic tracks, which are taken into account, but not discussed here. Today, aircraft's reliability combined with the framework of operational approval, make diversion risk during ETOPS flight as low as possible. However, a constant monitoring of the flight from the dispatch office, when the aircraft is in the ETOPS area, is necessary. Any communication means can be used to contact the aircraft in the air. SATCOM, ACARS, HF. But this monitoring by the dispatch office do not override the authority of the pilot in command. He remains the sole responsible of the safest actions to take. A bilateral communication with ATC is also required when flying in the ETOPS area. At any time of the flight crew must be aware of any significant changes of the conditions at the ETOPS CRA airports. To achieve this goal with the potential assistance of the dispatch, the flight crew must collect any relevant information, such as NOTAMs and SNOTAMs, weather forecasts at ETOPS CRA airports, en route weather forecasts at cruise altitude and down to flight level 100, and SIGMET. The monitoring of ETOPS CRA airports conditions is very important as it could lead to the decommissioning of the airport as an alternate. The weather forecasts at the estimated time of arrival at the en route alternate airports must be higher than the normal minima. The ETOPS dispatch minima are no longer used. As a consequence, the routing may be modified to remain in the new area of operation. Keep in mind that the route must always remain within the approved maximum diversion time from any adequate airport. Before the ETOPS entry point, the flight crew must obtain the latest weather forecasts for ETOPS CRA airports, and must check that the fuel reserves are compliant with the ETOPS required reserves. If weather forecasts are lower than the crew minima, select another ETOPS alternate airport, or select another route if the fuel on board is sufficient, or turn back to the departure airport. If the rerouting option is selected, the new route must remain within the operator's ETOPS area of operation. Also, a new CFP must be provided by the OCC, with updated fuel computations. And it is necessary to check that the fuel on board is compliant with the newly required quantities. The flight crew must be aware of the criteria leading to a diversion or a rerouting during an ETOPS flight. The operator is in charge to define its own criteria and the associated procedures in the operations manual. The FCOM provides technical criteria leading to a diversion or a rerouting. Please find a dedicated chapter in your FCOM. This is available in the chapter Procedures, Special Operations, Extended Range Operations of the FCOM, in the Diversion during Extended Range Operations Diversion Decision-Making part. On the FMS side, the use of the secondary flight plan may vary according to the operator's rules. Basically, make a copy of the active flight plan in the secondary. ETOPS ETPs can be displayed on the navigation displays, through the new waypoint function of the FMS. Keep in mind that the new waypoint must not be used in the active flight plan for the following reasons. The waypoint is not part of the ATC flight plan. An error in coordinates may lead to a dangerous track deviation, and the new waypoint would corrupt position reporting through CPDLC and ADS. Choose a waypoint identification which cannot be confused with the other waypoints of the flight plan. The identification code could be the three-letter code of the two alternate airports associated to the ETP. Note that EEP, EXP and CP can also be stored as new waypoints. For example, on our Shannon New York flight, the ETP between Keflavik and Gander can be named as Kilo Echo Foxtrot Yankee Quebec X-Ray. In the FMS, create a new waypoint accordingly. Obtain the ETP coordinates from the CFP, and copy them into the latitude-longitude field of the FMS page. On the FS control panel, press the waypoint push button, in order to display the ETP on the navigation display. The FMS can also compute an ETP through a dedicated function. However, the ETP position of the FMS differs from the ETP of the CFP. The difference can be seen on the navigation displays. The FMS computes its ETP for a normal cruise flight level, and with all engines operative. At least 30 minutes before the EEP, it is also recommended to establish the communication with the OCC. This action ensures that the flight crew has the capability to communicate with the OCC, to obtain information such as weather data, NOTAMs, SNOTAMs, CFP. After the EEP, the flight crew continues to monitor the weather conditions for ETOPS CRA airports. However, if the weather degrades below normal minima, the flight may continue as planned. When overflying a waypoint, checks of the fuel on board are required, like any standard flight monitoring. The flight crew must only ensure that ETOPS reserves are covered with the remaining fuel until ETPs. After the last ETP, the crew manages the fuel as a non-ETOPS flight until destination. Inside the ETOPS segment, normal decision-making is used for diversion. Get mentally prepared about the different scenarios of diversion and consider the aircraft status. When overflying a waypoint, check also the present position ETA. About 10 minutes later, check again your position. Now it's time to answer a few questions. What are the information to be collected by the flight crew about ETOPS CRA airports? You are in flight. According to these approach chart, what are the operating minima for an ILS Cat 1 approach on this ETOPS CRA airport? What precautions to take when you want to enter an ETP in the FMS? During the cruise phase, you should bear in mind that maintain a continuous monitoring of the ETOPS CRA airport status. The ETOPS dispatch minima are no longer used. Before reaching the EEP, if an alternate airport is no longer operable, several options have to be considered according to your status. After reaching the EEP, if an alternate airport is no longer operable, the flight may continue as planned. The pilot in command remains responsible of the safest course of action, and the FMS may provide some help by displaying ETOPS key points on the navigation displays as new waypoints, apart from the active flight plan.